Hi everyone, and welcome back once again to the Life Story Studio. In this fellowship series, we've been delving into the past of some of the biggest names in hairdressing and finding out what truly made them the people they are today. And where to start with tonight's guest. He is one of the most beloved and recognizable hairdressers of the past 50 years. A 4-time winner of British Hairdresser of the Year, creator of the iconic wedge haircut, a media darling, entrepreneur, benefactor, and so much more. He is the one and only Trevor Sorbie, MBE. Tonight promises to be an interview like no other. Trevor's life has been a series of stratospheric highs and heartbreaking lows. And for the first time, he's agreed to lay bare all his personal demons for the whole world to see. Because of this, I'm going to be handing over tonight's interview to a close friend of both myself and Trevor, Maria Wires. Maria is a freelance hair journalist and consultant who was head of Hairdressers Journal for over 10 years and Salon Business magazine for over 5. And believe me, when I say that Maria knows Trevor inside and out, his ups, his downs, his hopes, his fears, his proudest achievements and deepest regrets. Have a hanky on standby. This one is going to get really emotional.
Hello everybody, and thanks Andrew for that wonderful introduction. I'm Maria Wires, and I'm honoured, delighted and so excited to be here tonight with you, Mr. Trevor Sorbie, MBE, to talk about your extraordinary life story. Now Trevor, throughout your career, you've always been known as a man who looks ahead. Are you ready to start looking back?
It's been an up and down life. And I think that the highs have been high and the lows have been just as low. And I'm here to bear all, to be honest. And
well,
I think
brilliant, because we can't wait to share your life story, Trevor. But before we begin, can we talk a bit about where you are right now? And I say this because you told the nation earlier this year on national television, on Lorraine's show, that you're suffering from cancer. And I know that a lot of our viewers and a lot of your legion of worldwide fans will be anxious to know how you are. And before we start talking about your life as it was, let's talk about your life as it is now, so they're not thinking about anything other than okay, because I know you're well. So please, how are you?
I'm as well as can be expected. Starting at the beginning, just before Christmas of last year, I was losing a lot of blood. And my wife phoned a paramedic. She came, she examined me, she didn't know what was wrong. She sent me to the hospital. I waited in A&E for 5 hours, and they sort of tried to find out what the problem was, and they couldn't put their finger on it. So they recommended me to go to a doctor who specializes in these sort of problems. And they scanned me and brought me into a room, and he says, Mr. Sorbie, you have bowel cancer. And I went, right, okay. And I said, look, I've got one important question I need to ask you. Am I going to lose my hair?
No, you didn't say that.
I did. He thought it was quite funny as well. And he said, actually, no, you're not with the treatment that we're going to give you, but you're going to need an operation. And I said, okay. I said, look, I'm really scared of hospitals, operations, anything like that. I'm like most men, I think.
Sure.
And anyway, I went into hospital. I had a 6.5-hour operation.
Wow.
I was in intensive care for 3 days, which I didn't know anything about. I was told afterwards that I was phoning people up and asking for Chinese and stuff like this. Don't remember a thing.
Wow.
and maybe it's a good thing I didn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, I recovered, and I went back. The surgeon saw me again, and he said, "Look, Trevor, we don't need to use chemo. We nipped it in the bud. We were lucky." He said, "There's only a 3% chance that it may return." And I said, "Well, yeah, that's a fair bet for
Fair
me."
odds, yeah.
Anyway, I was supposed to go back for a scan, which I couldn't do because COVID's just started, and I had to delay that scan for a month. And I went back, had the scan, and they said, "Sorry to say this, Mr. Sorbie, but the cancer's spread." And I said, "Oh," and I wasn't expecting that, because I thought, I'm in that 3%. Not the 97%. And he says, "It spread to your liver." And I said, "Right." And he said, "Well, we're going to have to operate again." So I said, "Okay." So they cut me from here down to my navel. I've got the scar to prove it. And that was seemingly successful. And they said, "We're going to have to put you on chemotherapy, and you're going to have chemo every 2 weeks, and we can bring the chemotherapy to your home." It's a healthcare system that they have, so I don't have to keep traveling up to London, because I live in the Portsmouth area, and back and forward for, and I had to have 12 different 12 doses of it, and in fact, I had one yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
And
is that it?
This is chemo, and it's attached to my chest, which is fed into a needle, which has got a tube which goes into a vein, and it spreads the chemo through my body.
Thank you for showing us, because actually, have I ever seen that? No, I haven't.
Nor had I until...
No. So how scared were you?
Yeah, I was scared. I don't think anyone cannot be scared, because look, I deal with cancer patients all the time.
Which we'll come on to.
My charity is, cutting wigs for cancer patients, and you think there's a possibility I can die. It's as simple as that. Having said that, I do know quite a bit about it, because when my seminars, we have trained very high-level nurses, and I learn from them the advancements of cancer research and everything, and it's moved. I mean, once upon a time, cancer was a death penalty.
Yeah, it was.
And now it's not. People live with cancer, as I am right now.
That's right.
And I'll be honest with you, Maria, I don't feel I've got cancer.
No. Also,
and I won't accept it either.
No, but you know too well, because you're dealing with ladies, and possibly, I don't know, Trevor, some gentlemen with cancer, that it isn't, as you say, the stigma it once was. And 1 in 2 of us now are going to get cancer.
Yeah.
But physically, you look amazing.
Well, it's funny. The amount of people that say I look better than before, and look, I've got a zest for life. I love my life. I've achieved so much, and I've enjoyed every minute. And there's been down times, and you're going to hear about that stuff. But if I had to live my life over again, I wouldn't change much about it. I really wouldn't.
Well, on that subject, why don't we take a look at your life?
Okay.
Shall we start with your early life? Trevor John Sorbie was born in Paisley in Scotland in 1949 to parents Robert and Edna. You could say that hairdressing was in Trevor's blood, as both his father and his grandfather were barbers in the local town. Aged 11, Trevor's family moved south to Ilford in East London. Trevor found the transition difficult. He struggled at school and was bullied constantly. This eventually led to him dropping out, age 15, and going to work at his father's barbershop. Within 3 months, Trevor was cutting hair and was an absolute natural. Realising he wanted to make the transition from barbering to hairdressing, he attended the Richard Henry School of Hairdressing for 6 months, and upon graduation was quickly snapped up by Vidal Sassoon in 1972. Within a year, Trevor became an artistic director for Sassoon, helping to create stunning shows and iconic looks, such as the renowned wedge haircut in 1974. Brief stints at Tony and Guy and John Frieda followed, before Trevor opened his first salon in Covent Garden in 1979. The 80s and 90s saw an incredible host of achievements, including 4 British Hairdresser of the Year awards, a hugely successful product range, and celebrity clients including Grace Jones, Adam Ant, and Sting. His stage shows, meanwhile, were the envy of the industry, with his artistic team spawning a host of future superstars. These incredible achievements were recognised in 2004 when Trevor was awarded an MBE. Just 2 years later, Trevor started My New Hair, a charity dedicated to providing support and advice for people experiencing medical hair loss. The pioneering charity has since trained a huge network of hair professionals from across the UK and Ireland, all providing a wig customisation service for their clients. Trevor's charity work was rewarded in 2017 when he received an honorary doctorate from the University of the West of Scotland. This was awarded at the Paisley campus, just a mere stone's throw from where he grew up. So, those are the major moments of Trevor Sorbie's life story. But who is the real man behind the legend? Tonight, we aim to find out just that, starting with the question, what on earth is this video clip all about? Bring back some memories for you, Trevor?
God.
Yeah. Well, I suppose hearing that, it could be, the Wikipedia of Trevor Sorbie's life. Masses of achievements, success, amazing milestones, but none of the drama. I've known you 35 years, and I've always seen your life as going from incredible highs down to crushing lows. Tell us, has your life been a fairy tale?
I think people misinterpret success. I think everyone thinks that success is a smooth ride up to the top. Well, I know many famous people throughout the years, and they all have had as major lows as they've had major highs. And it's part of the course. There is a price to pay for success, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, because I suffer or have suffered from depression. I remember when we started business, it wasn't going very well, and at one point, Grant, my partner at the time, business partner, said that, Trev, within 3 months, if we don't turn a corner, we're going to have to close. And that sent me into a nosedive. And I actually went into hospital with depression to the Priory.
Did your depression start then, Trevor, or had you had a history of depression prior to that?
Well, depression's a strange thing. You can't sort of monitor it as such, but there are times when you know you're down, when you can't get out of bed in the morning and you don't shower for 3 days and you wear the same clothes because you just, there's nothing to seemingly live for. It's a horrible place to be, and I think that I have suffered from depression, but it's not every month or anything. It comes when something goes wrong. Yes,
and I've noticed, which we'll talk about a bit later, but your depression often hits when you've had an enormous high. It's very, very curious how it goes way up and then you come right down.
Yeah.
But like most celebrities, and I'm sure you're not alone by being like that, but unlike most celebrities, people describe you as, a creative genius, an innovator, a brilliant showman, inspiring educator. The list goes on and on with your professional accolades. But what about you, Trevor, as a man? If you had to have 3 words to describe yourself, how would you describe yourself personally?
Sensitive, fragile, but hungry.
Yes.
Hungry. I'm an achiever.
Yes.
You know, I set a goal and I get that goal.
Yes.
I won't let anything stop me.
Yes.
It's more than 3 words, but
Yes. No, that's it. And actually, if anyone said to me, describe Trevor Sorbie, I probably would be very close to that.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely, which we'll explore a bit later. There is a beautiful childlike fragility about you. And I think that word fragile is one which we might revisit a bit later on. As we move through, shall we have a little think about your early life growing up in Paisley in Scotland? I understand it was a humble beginning, and I understand that you grew up in a tenement flat. Tell us about that. How was that? What was that like?
well, I loved my childhood, to be honest. I didn't know anything. I had nothing to compare it with. My mum and dad, I remember one Christmas, there was mince and potatoes, was the Christmas lunch.
Yep.
There was one toy that was shared between my brother and myself. I got the toy, my brother got the box.
You probably liked the box better than the toy, I would imagine.
And it was, you know, I had a great. The funny thing was, and it caught up with me in the end. But I had a little girlfriend. I was age 11, and her name was Aileen. And I said to her, "Look, I have to go to London to see my uncle and auntie on a holiday, and I'll be back in 2 weeks." Well, I never went back. Actually, we stayed in England.
That's because you moved. Your parents moved the whole family down to Ilford.
Yeah, and I didn't know anything about that. And I think Aileen still went at the bus stop.
Bless her. Bless her.
But the funny thing was, a Scottish newspaper, I told this story to a Scottish newspaper, and they found this young lady.
They found her?
Yeah, they found her.
She's still waiting?
Well, not quite. She was married and everything. And, oh, this is going to sound awful, and I don't mean it to be like sound, but they managed to arrange her to fly down to London to my salon and for me to do her hair, and they thought that would be a lovely thing, and so did I. I couldn't wait to see her.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to see her. And when she walked in, I was like, "Thanks, Mum and Dad." It wasn't the little girl that...
Tell me more about your mum and dad. What were they like as characters? I don't know much about your mum.
Yeah, Mum was the backbone of my family life. She was a mum.
Was she?
In every sense of the word, you know.
Was she the matriarch of the family, kept you all together?
Yeah. My dad, well, my dad was a bit of a womanizer, I have to say.
Right, that's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, Mum didn't know about any of that stuff, because when I was working with my dad for 5 years, I saw my real dad. We used to stop in this pub every night, going back, because his shop was in Ilford and I lived in Harlow in Essex, and we used to stop in the Nag's Head in Chingford and for a pint. But it wasn't the pint. I said, "Why do I have to have a drink?" He said, "Oh, wash the hair down. Right. You know, it was the barmaid. It was the barmaid that was, I saw that.
And that must have been quite tricky for you, keeping that to yourself without knowing that how much it would hurt your mum.
Well, my mum became everything to me, to be honest. I mean, I loved my dad, don't get me wrong, but there was that flaw in his personality that wasn't right for mum and dad, you know. I was... And in those days, people didn't have that sort of... It wasn't today, it's quite the norm for affairs and that, but not then.
Trev, did your mother... How much of your success did your mother get to see?
Not enough.
Not enough?
Not enough.
No.
I remember... This is hard. This is hard.
Do you want me to come back to it?
No, I'll spit it out. My mum said to me, "I've got to go to hospital, I've got an appointment." And I said, "I'll come with you." And I took her and Harlow Hospital and got in the lift. And she said, I'm not coming out.
Oh.
I said, what do you mean? She said, I'm not coming out. I was, all right. That didn't go in. I didn't know what she meant. Next time I saw her, she was in hospital in a bed, and she was all drugged up. She didn't know anything. She was on morphine, and her legs slipped out of the bed, and it was black.
Wow.
That was the last time I could watch.
Oh, bless you.
Couldn't handle it.
No. What age were you then? A teenager?
15, 16.
Oh, very young.
Yeah.
So young. So then all you had was your dad and your brother.
Yeah.
Because I know your brother is Mike, isn't
Yeah.
he? And I understand he lives up in the hills of Northumberland.
Yeah.
And he has a very different life to you.
Yeah.
Yeah?
We're chalk and cheese, but we're as close as that.
Well, it may surprise you to know that we've managed to get your brother to the telephone. And we asked your brother for a few comments on you as his brother. So please take a look at this and listen.
We used to be quite competitive with each other. When we lived in Scotland, there was this bit of pavement and that, and we called it the D because it was shaped like a D. And we used to cycle round it, and I thought, oh, well, you're not going to get this. So I swung round in a broadside, and he went into me, so he wouldn't win. So we sort of rough and tumble. He always had a flair for like painting and things like that. He just had the flair, because he liked sort of, as I say, drawings and things like that, and he always liked Vidal. He sort of saw that and thought, that's what I want to do. And my mum and dad put me in a college in London, and he just took off from there. He just looked at things, oh yeah, I can do that, and he worked away on wigs, and hey presto. I'm very proud of him. I'm pleased with the achievements he's made, and well, he's just a wonderful brother. He's treated me to a lot of things over the years, birthdays and that. You know, I've had Flying Concorde, I've been to America with him. I've done so much through Trev with his success, and how he's normal. He's not sort of, because he climbed the ladder, he was still down at ground level. And I think that was part of his personality. We know each other. Although we're miles apart, we know each other. He's more at ease. He's more homely now, and he's sort of settled down. The high-flying bit's all gone. He's sort of come down a level, and Carol just cooks some nice meals. They go out for nice meals. They like doing things like that. And he just feels so relaxed. He's really happy. He's got no worries, and he's just, it's like heaven for him.
Surprise, right? And there's a man who knows you, Trevor. There's a man who knows you.
He does.
Yeah. He said that you used to rough and tumble as children, and apparently a bit of rough and tumble as adults isn't unfamiliar to you, I understand.
I know.
Yeah, tell me the story, because I don't know the story.
Yeah, where were we? I forget, but we were rough.
I think you were about to travel somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And you had a bit of a play fight, but what happened?
Well, I'm just trying to think the blow it was. He went into my body and broke a rib.
Wow.
Oh yeah, we used to get it on. You know, it was.
So it was a bit more than a rough and tumble.
Oh yeah, Mike was strong.
Was he?
I mean, he's a tough boy. He's as soft as putty. You know the gentle giant story. That's Mike. I mean, he could take anyone on, and he used to protect me a lot because at the bottom of the street in Paisley there was a gang called the Black Hall Gang, and they hated us, me and my brother.
Why did they? Why was that?
because we weren't part of their gang.
Right, okay.
And Mike, one day we had a confrontation with like 4 of them,
Right.
and Mike just stood in front of me. He says, "Come on," and he was protecting me, and he would have taken them, and they backed off.
How much older is he than you, Trevor?
3 years.
3 years older than you.
Yeah.
So he was a really good protective big brother then.
I can't say enough about him.
And this bullying business, which we mentioned earlier, were you bullied in Scotland then as well, or
No.
just down here?
Down here, because I
Down
had a
here.
Scottish accent.
Is that what people didn't like?
Yeah, I was different, accent-wise.
Right.
And, hey, all right, Stuart, all that stuff. And it used to get me, because being sensitive, I took it on board, and I actually tried to lose my accent.
But you have lost it now, haven't you?
I have. But
And listening to your brother there, he's got the most wonderful Scottish lilt, hasn't he?
Yeah, he nothing will change that man.
Yeah. And what does he do, Trevor?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Because he had a back injury, he fell off a truck backwards.
What did he do, though? Was he
Driving a truck.
a truck driver?
Yeah.
Yeah. How different the two
And
boys.
labouring.
How
Yeah.
different the two boys.
Oh, chalk and cheese. But you know what? He knows me better than anyone else in this world. And I've said to him a couple of times, Mike, how do you know what I'm feeling? He says, it's like looking through a window and I can see inside you, Trev. And he's got...
Great comfort.
Yeah, and he knows I've had to run to him several times.
Well, he did say to us on the phone that, his home has been a bastion of security for you when you've had difficult times. Is that right?
I run to him, and he knows I need him, and he looks after me.
And he also took some beatings on your behalf when you were bullied, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he stuck up for me.
Good boy.
True brother.
Yeah. So a combination of that horrible bullying and you having zero interest in academic work, like many, it saw you leaving school age 15 in favour of going to work for your father's barbershop. Did you take to that straight away, Trevor?
Yeah, well, first of all, just going back a little bit, I wanted to be an artist, and that was my first love. I love painting, and I won a competition for Brute Bond PG Tips. I drew a Scottish soldier, and I won first prize. And, I was right into it, but the bullying got on top of me. And my dad said, well, what are you going to do, son? And I said, well, I'll get a job in a factory like my mates. And he said, well, come in the barber shop and see how you get on. Within 3 months, I was cutting hair. I found it easy. My dad was a good hairdresser.
Was he?
Really, really good. And he taught me the disciplines in hairdressing, which I still carry to this day.
Was he a very technical barber?
Yeah. This may not mean much to you, Maria. Well, no, you will, because you understand hair. But he could do an American flat top haircut with scissors and comb. Most hairdressers, most barbers would use a machine. But he would do it scissors and comb.
Wow.
He did it the hard way, and he taught me the hard way.
Wow.
So that was my basic training.
So out of interest, your grandfather was a barber?
Yeah.
So did your grandfather teach your father, and your father taught you?
Yeah. My grandfather was a professor of hair in the college in Glasgow.
Was he?
Yeah, he was right up there.
So it's in the genes then,
In the
Trevor?
blood.
It's in the genes. So when you were working with your father in the barber shop, how did that affect Mike? Did you become sort of family favourite, or?
Yeah.
And how did that affect you?
And that's a bit I kind of, regret. I can't regret it because it wasn't me, so to speak, but I was the blue-eyed boy, and Mike was the one that always had to do the hard bit, digging the garden or something. Or I mean, once he lost his temper and he smashed the wall of the kitchen and broke a tile because he had
so much pent up.
Yeah, and I was always getting the easy ride, and I hated that, but I enjoyed it because I was young and I didn't sort of understand that too much.
Did that cause any sort of fracture in the relationship with you and him then?
No.
No. You've always been tight.
Yeah, I mean, our lives have gone off, and you know, Mike had his set of problems, and he got married, and he's had a tough old life. He married his sweetheart, first love, and she got cancer, and
Is that Jackie?
Jackie, yeah, she died, and then her best friend, she said to her best friend, forgot her name. Anyway, look after Mike, and she came and lived with Mike just as a companion, and she died.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so two of his.
Gosh.
Yeah, and then he met another lady who was his next door neighbor in Harlow, and they always had a good relationship, and she moved in and they got married.
Oh, so it's got a happy ending there then.
Yeah, it happened.
And so he went back up, he didn't go as far as Scotland, but he went to Northumberland.
Northumberland, yeah.
Which has been a bolt hole for you, and probably a bit of a saviour bolt hole for him, I would imagine.
That's my blanket.
Yeah, yeah. So he's told us on that audio clip how proud he is of you and the qualities you have. What's the top 3 qualities of your brother Mike that you admire the most, Trevor?
His honesty, his caringness, his this is a word I'm trying to get, and
Genuine?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would that do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no bullshit with him.
Yeah. And he also said, though, similarly, that you have always remained pretty grounded. Is that something which you kind of worked on, or is that something which you've always decided to be? It's just you.
It's me. I don't know how to put on a facade. I'm going to be honest here, and it might sound disrespectful, but I know a lot of people in hairdressing, obviously, and I see a lot of showmanship and look at me kind of thing, and I'm not like that. I'm not a show off.
No, you've never been known for that.
I just this is it, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Judge me with these.
Yes. I think it's time we just took a quick break, huh? Let's come back and pick up where we left off.
Yeah, because I need a pee.
Hello and welcome back to the Life Story Studio, where I'm chatting to the illustrious Trevor Sorbie, MBE. And so it was a bit of a funny 5 minutes, wasn't there, when you decided that you were going to say goodbye to hairdressing.
Yeah.
And you were going to be, I think you find, a salesman for Gillette, is that right?
Yeah.
What was you thinking there?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I got bored cutting men's hair, because in those days, all I was getting were factory workers from Ford Motor Company. And in those days, it was short back and sides. There was only one haircut. And just talking to, drunk old men every day, and, picking up girly magazines, and I thought, God, is this hairdressing, So I quit, and I went for a job as a rep. I remember the interview, a big London hotel, and all these guys sitting around all smart, and I thought, oh, blimey, I got no chance. I even had my hair cut off for it, and because I had quite long hair then. And the guy sort of asked me a series of questions, and he says, well, what's your qualifications, Mr. Sorbie? I said, well, I got an A in maths, a B in English, a geography, a C, and he knew I was lying. I mean, I couldn't pull it off, you know, I couldn't.
Because you're too honest.
Yeah.
Too grounded.
Yeah. I didn't even want a job. I wanted the car that came with the job.
Oh,
that was the motivation.
I see, but you didn't get the car.
I didn't get
the job.
Yeah, so I went back and I said, Mum, Dad, I said, I want to go back into hairdressing, but I don't want to do just men's. I want to learn ladies.
Yeah.
And that's when they
Thank goodness for us that you did, Trevor.
Well, yes,
you did.
Absolutely.
And I understand you went to the Richard Henry School of Hairdressing in London, erstwhile establishment. At that time, that must have been what, late 60s?
Yeah.
Mid to late 60s, would it have been? Yeah.
Late 60s.
Of course, that was the most electrifying time in the world of hair and fashion, wasn't it? I mean, anybody involved in hair and fashion at that time, particularly hairdressing, where you've got women being liberated from, you know, those dreaded starchy shampoos and sets and lots of lacquer in favour of a wonderful swingy cut and blow dry.
Yeah.
Tell us what it was like for you. Was it fab?
Well, it wasn't just hairdressing. At that time in the 60s, there was the music industry, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, they were all brand new. Photography, there was David Bailey, Donovan, you know, there was fashion, Mary Quad, Bill Gibb, and it was a movement that was happening in the 60s, and hairdressing was part of that, thanks to Vidal Sassoon. And so that was a new culture, youth culture that was coming through.
It was sort of a cultural explosion, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you feel really like you were at the heart of it? I
loved it.
Because some people, when I've spoken to them, they say, oh, I didn't really know it was happening at the time.
Oh, no, I did.
You did?
I used to come out of Baker Street's tube station, and I used to walk up Baker Street to the Richard Henry School, and there was a shop midway called Crimpers, and there was all these guys in flares and big kipper ties, and they're all cutting hair, and I thought, oh, God, that looks so cool. I want to be like that.
And that's what you were heading towards. Yeah.
It inspired me. I wanted to be a part of this explosion that was happening, and I understood it perfectly well. You walk down King's Road and everyone was decked out, you know, in hats and looking like Jimi Hendrix, and, you know, Bieber was the big brand at the time.
Brilliant.
Bus Stop, these kind of shops.
Well, it was very insightful then of the principal of the hairdressing school who saw something special in you, didn't they? And they said, Trevor, once you've graduated, you need to aim high. You need to go somewhere really special. And it's that time, then you were snapped up. You've already mentioned the name. You were snapped up by Vidal Sassoon. Is that right? Tell me about that.
Well, the principal of the college was a man called Martin Gottlieb, and unfortunately he passed away, but he saw something in me and I didn't see it in myself. He says, I see something special in you, and you never see yourself special, but other people can see it, if you know what I mean. And he said, I want you to go to a good name, and he said either Helena Rubinstein or Vidal Sassoon. I said Vidal Sassoon, and he sent me there. And within 18 months, and it was tough, and you know, I mean, they really put you through the pain barriers at Sassoon's training to be a stylist.
Well, you clearly made the mark, because it wasn't very long until you rose to a higher rank, was it? You know, I think you became an art director pretty early on.
That's right, yeah.
But what was it like then? Because when you look back and imagine all of those haircuts being conceived, things like the Firefly, for example, which was revolutionary in its time.
Yeah.
You must have been there when that happened.
Yeah, I was. I remember the day very well. Christopher Brooker, who was the main artistic director over all the other art directors, and he brought this model in with the agent, and it was a young girl with hair down to here, and her name was, well, a trade name was Firefly. I don't even know what her real name was. And he said, I want you to give her a new look to Christopher. And Christopher disappeared up into the fourth
Which
floor.
salon was this one in? Which salon was this one in, Trevor?
Grosvenor House.
Grosvenor House.
Salon, yeah. On the fourth floor, he took her up there, and he was up there for 7 hours.
Wow.
And I thought, what the bloody hell is he doing up there for 7 hours? Anyway, she came down with this haircut, and it was right off and, you know, sweep, and everyone just like went just like, wow, that's worth 7 hours of work. And that was I was there, you know, I saw history. I was present in that space.
Well, I hope you got the same applause when you did the wedge, because you did that at Sassoon in '74, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, that happened because Vidal, it was his first show in Paris, and he wanted his art team to do a new collection. So all the art directors got busy and trying to invent new haircuts. And I had this model called Mary, who unfortunately again has passed away. And I said, look, Mary, I want to do a really strong haircut on you. It's like a bowl. And it's going to be one length. And she went, all right. She was up for anything. And I did this haircut, and I thought, oh, God. I said, I like it. I thought, but the French won't, because the French want a woman to look French.
Ah la la loo.
And I thought, oh, this ain't going to work. Anyway, I thought, I'll see what I can get out of it. So I brushed it back on both sides, and this hair just went whoomp. And I went, whoa. And I said, Christopher was in the salon, South Moulton Street salon at the time, and I said, Christopher, come over here and have a look and see, what do you think for the collection? And he went, love it, absolutely love it. He said, we're going to get it photographed, and and it was the first haircut that ever got a full page in English Vogue.
Wow.
And it was quite accidental, to be honest. I was salvaging a haircut, but I'll take full credit for it.
You take that credit, Trevor. But you know what? Something I learned from you is when we do stage shows for Salon International. I always remember hearing you say to all the young ones out in the audience, listen, learn your craft, because you have to learn all the rules before you know how to break them.
Absolutely.
And so that's clearly what happened with that haircut. You knew all the rules, and you kind of broke them, but by accident, if that makes sense.
Many an invention has been an accident. I heard just the other day on the news that one of these diseases that spread, tuberculosis, I think it was an accident how they found a vaccine for it. Just through trial and error, you know, searching, never stopping to look. I mean, I've always said, I'd never stop hairdressing, even when I'm not hairdressing. I have a little antenna that's always up, and it's always looking at a plant, a material, a fabric, anything that goes, oh, I can do that. I could make hair do that. And it's always on the lookout.
That's because you're a true creative, Trev, that's why.
I'm hungry for it.
Well, while you were in the Sassoon Empire then, they of course were known for their extraordinary, as you've already said, their incredible discipline and standards. And there was somebody else who worked through the ranks of Sassoon. Not at the time you were there, I think she joined a little later. She eventually became your international creative director for your business in America. Viv, Miss Vivian McKinder. So shall we look and hear what she thinks about her time there and with you? We've got Vivian.
You've been doing some secret stuff.
We've been doing some secret stuff.
Oh, wow.
When I joined Vidal Sassoons, Trevor had passed on to open his own business, so his name continued to be a big deal at Vidal Sassoons. Sassoons was pioneering. There was nobody else in the world doing the type of work that Sassoons was doing. So it created this extraordinary experience of the excitement of new, the excitement of the first. And Trevor and I grew up in that world, and the discipline was crazy. Probably today that discipline wouldn't be allowed. It was so tough and so hard. And I remember somebody said to me, if you can make it through Sassoons, every door in the world will open to you. And I thought, yeah, people are coming from all over the world to learn this amazing technique. We are pioneering, so you just endure it, and you're not having fun, you're not very good, but just knuckle down and just do it. Well, when I first met him, it was for an interview, and I was terrified because he looked at me with those beautiful bright blue eyes, and he had a long stare and gaze. And so he looked through my portfolio and he said, "So you call yourself a hairdresser?" And I thought, yeah, I'm showing him hair pictures, right? And I went, yeah, with doubt. And he said, "No, you're not a hairdresser, you're a hair cutter." I went, "Oh." He said, "Can you dress hair?" I went, "Not really." And I said, "But I'm willing to learn. Will you teach me?" And he said, "Yes, I will teach you." And I knew there was another world there, razor cutting, the art of dressing hair. And that was not part of the Sassoon way. Sassoon is very pure, and I respect that so much. So I knew if I wanted to kind of reinvent myself, I was limited with a purist company. I'd have to break away, just like Trevor did, and try something else. So Trevor was the natural choice. Well, I think that the Trevor that the world sees is this incredible talent, the genius, and a confident man, and a kind, caring man, and a funny man. But underneath that is a man that is a little bit of a warrior who he climbs the mountain peak. And once he climbs that mountain peak, where do you go? And once you climb that peak, you've got to come down the mountain and find something else to climb. And when Trevor climbed that mountain and had to then find another peak, that transition down was very, very hard for him, because it was like, okay, what's my next battle that I'm going to conquer? And sometimes the lack of confidence, the lack of belief, the lack of trust would get in the way of his joy, because let's face it, hairdressing is a wonderful creative profession, and it's a joyful profession. And when we're very hard on ourselves and critical of ourselves, we can steal some magic from ourselves. So I think what would surprise people would be that he actually did struggle with confidence. And that was a hard thing to witness, to witness somebody that is so brilliant not believe, because it's almost as though you have this belief and passion, but you've got the handbrake on. So Trevor taught me to be open-minded. He taught me curiosity. He taught me how to look at something and ask, what if? What if we did it this way? What if we did it that way? He taught me how to translate something from one idea to something else. So he taught me the creative process. And in teaching me that creative process, it was about never, ever compromising beauty. And that is my biggest thing that I would take away from Trevor.
Oh, how about that, huh?
Wow.
Yes. I mean, by the way, I'm loving it that your beautiful dog has decided not to sleep anymore, but to come and actually watch the VT of one of your fans. I mean, what about that?
He's my buddy.
Yeah.
Come on, boy.
So, Trevor, one thing that Viv said there, which is a wonderful thing, you taught her her creativity. You brought her creativity out of her, and that you said the overriding factor is beauty, is things to be beautiful.
Yeah.
Another part of the interview she gave us, she mentioned a situation where you went out to America to see her because she was working for you, and she'd put together a collection for you, proudly put together this collection, and you took it all in and looked it up and down, and she was desperate for your, appraisal. And you just apparently turned to her. Can you remember this? And you said, Vivian, there's a fine line between creativity and bad taste.
I remember that.
And she said, oh, where do I sit on that? And you said, it's bad taste. Now, how on earth do you manage to be such a personable man and to take the role of being good cop, bad cop, when you've got people who have done something that really isn't hitting the spot?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Is it your genuine sort of take it as it is?
I can answer that quite easily. It's called honesty.
Honesty.
And I've many times had what I thought was honesty, but it isn't. I'd say to somebody, what do you think of that? And because I am who I am, they go, oh, that's great. I say, no, it's not. What's wrong with it? Tell me. Be honest. Oh, no, it's really nice. Honestly, Trev, I love it. And I know it's not great. I know what's great. I know what's right. But I hadn't reached that, and I will never, ever praise anyone just to make them feel good.
Feel good.
Sometimes in life you have to be really firm with yourself and firm to somebody else, because that is good teaching. That is being a good teacher.
Well, on that then, because you just said you have to be really firm with yourself.
Yeah.
Is that one of the reasons, because I've seen you before stage shows, is that one of the reasons you get such high anxiety? Viv mentioned it. You get incredibly anxious and highly strung just before a show.
Yeah.
Is that because you're so hard on yourself? Is your expectation of yourself so fierce?
Yeah. It's horrible being me before a show. I remember once in, I think it was Atlanta, I was so scared to go on stage. I always used to have a ritual, go into the bathroom in the hotel, look at myself in the mirror and talk and say, right, Trev, I'll go downstairs and knock the socks off. And if you don't bother coming back. And on this one occasion, I got my finger and I put it on the sink. I thought, I'm going to break this so I don't have to go on stage.
Seriously?
Yeah, I was serious. And I was like, then I thought, hang on a sec, the pain of this is not going to be as painful as going on stage. So I went on stage and it went really well. But that's anxiety. And the other time, which is actually quite funny, it was in Germany, and the organizer, he had owned the hotel, and he put my wife and I in a suite, and there was flowers and champagne and stuff, and we went down for dinner, and my team were all around there. And at about 9 o'clock at night, I said, all right, guys, look, I've got to get my sleep. I want to be right on it tomorrow. So got up, went to bed, and slept. In the morning, I woke up, and I thought, what's that? Now, I'm sure everyone at some point in their life has eaten toast in bed, right? And you get the crumbs, itchy, and you think, and I had the same sensation. I thought, what the hell is that? And I pulled the covers back, and there was this great big dark brown stain right where
it should
where I was lying, yeah. I thought, oh, God's sake, I've lost my bodily function through nerves, and I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
And really what had happened was there was a chocolate on the pillow that they give you, and somehow it slid down in the night and melted.
So melted chocolate.
And I thought I'd crap myself. And and I thought, oh, what's the chambermaid going to think? Housekeeping, they're going to think, dirty little bugger, get out of our hotel, And I thought, there's the wrapper. So I put the wrapper right next to the brown stain. I thought, now she'll know it wasn't me.
Nice and artistically, yeah.
I was scared to go back into my room that night, but anyway, it's all cleaned up.
But that shows you're so self-aware anyway, but it shows how much anxiety you know you're going to get.
Yeah.
You know, if you're thinking that kind of thing's going to happen.
You know something, Maria, when I'm asked to do a show, it's always like 6 months before you actually do it. And at the time, would you like to do a show in Salon International? Oh yeah, I'm up for that. And as the months get nearer and nearer, the due date, I think, why did I say yes?
Yeah,
this is like freaking me out now.
Yeah.
Why did I say yes?
Yeah.
And the build up to a show is painful.
Is that what Viv meant then when she said you go to the top of a mountain? Because your shows are, I can't find the superlative word for it. They're beyond spectacular. So is that what she means? You go right to that top pinnacle, and that's. Is it the emotional investment that you can't deal with, that you can't come back down?
I don't think of the come down. I always think of the getting up the mountain. The come down is something that happens. I don't design it. I know it's going to happen. It just happens. It's like a stack of cards. You know, it just goes. And I can't help myself.
But what happens to you after that? Because I've got to tell you, I don't know how many times you've said to me, Maria, this is it, this is going to be my last show.
Yeah.
That's it, it's my last show, I'm not doing them anymore. And then you do go on and do another one, which, by the way, is always better than the one before.
Yeah. But that's the problem. You see, Maria, when I was growing up, if you like, in hairdressing and ladies' hairdressing, there was no pressure on me. Even my first show in Vidal Sassoon, I was up there with a team of 5, 6 other hairdressers, and they were all more known than me. I was the new boy, and I didn't feel the same pressure as they did. But as your reputation grows, so does the expectation level grow. And if somebody's paying £100 to come and see you, they want £100 worth of you. And that's the pressure. That's when the pressure cooker starts bubbling, because what do they want? You know, what are they expecting? And I'm expecting to be unexpected, and higher than they're expecting. That's my goal, up there, and that's the only place to aim at, above their expectations.
I've also heard you say, though, that when you've done a show, you didn't reach your expectation.
Oh, yeah.
The audience has gone bananas. Yeah. But what's happened to you, Mr. Sorbie? Where have you disappeared off to when the curtains have closed on the show?
I remember doing a show in Los Angeles in the Marriott Hotel. There was 1,000 people audience, and I did my show, and I got a standing ovation, and I was staying in that hotel, and I left the stage, did my bows, left the stage, went up to my room, locked the door, and I ordered 2 bottles of wine up, and I drank them both. I was so disappointed in me. I wasn't caring about the audience, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but they liked it. I'm pleased for them. I'm not pleased with me. I was firing on 4 cylinders instead of 6. That's what I expect of me.
Yes.
And I was disappointed in me, so I had to get drunk to try and forget about it.
Well, I'm sure you all agree Trevor's led an incredible and fascinating life, and there's still so much more to cover. As such, rather than skip past anything important, we've made the unique decision to split this life story into 3 episodes. Trevor has so much more he wants to talk about, and we're certain you wouldn't want to miss a thing. So we're going to finish tonight's broadcast. Trevor and I are going to talk long into the night, and the Fellowship will let you know when you can tune in to see parts 2 and 3. But for now, thank you for watching, stay safe, and we'll see you again shortly. Coming up next, we hear from some big names about the influence Trevor has had on their careers.
For me, I will always remember him as one of the ones that really inspired me to be as good as I could be.
It's a bit sink or swim with Trevor. You can get the job, but whether you can keep the job and go on to succeed in that position is probably 2 very different things.
It was the most amazing education one could ever wish for.